MLS Aces Podcast, episode 213. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. And down below, if you are watching us, I am joined back by Jason Vivang this week. Jason, how are you? How are you?
Doing well, doing well. It's been a nice cold Tuesday out here in Chicago. So
I'm definitely feeling that. We're supposed to get a snowstorm Saturday here, I think. So
we
that's
got
all
one
fun.
Sunday, technically all Monday morning. It was brutal.
Yeah.
They forgot to plow the roads. They were like, it's only a foot of snow.
And we are also joined here by Vaughn, and I'm surprised you're not wearing a Patrick Mahomes jersey. Vaughn Holman,
man.
how are you, Vaughn?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a great week for me.
That game was wild.
You're right. I should have worn my Mahomes jersey. Should have taken the opportunity. Maybe I'll save that for some future festivities if we're so lucky.
You could have represented, Chiefs, Kingdom. That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were doing some dance with it.
Yeah, this is the dance with it.
I'm not doing the tomahawk chop though. I'll refrain from that.
Got you. Well, your NFL team is very special, Vaughn. The Kansas City team out in Major League Soccer, I think, are making some moves this offseason. We're not going to talk about them much today, I don't think, but they're making their moves. We'll maybe get them to Patrick Mahomes level. Does he own a stake in Sporting Kansas City?
In Sporting and in the Royals, yeah. He's he owns Kansas City, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, the Hunts did give him a lot of money, so technically FC Dallas owns part of SKC, if we want to think about it like that.
Doesn't his wife own one of the NWSL teams?
She owns part of the KC team, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So
I guess they both do. Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you guys haven't watched us before, if you haven't listened to us before, we are the MLS Aces Podcast. You guys can follow us on all social medias, pretty much at MLS Aces or just MLS Aces on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, whatever. You'll find us. You can learn more about us also over at MLSAces.com. Try to drop, a few blogs weekly over there if you guys ever want to kind of hear a little bit more of our opinions, just maybe not hear them, just read them in written form, a dying form for sure. And if you guys also want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/MLSAces and support us that way as well. All Patreons and Patreons are definitely highly appreciated. So guys, the last thing that I definitely want to say before we kind of start talking about soccer and everything like that is that this episode is sponsored by Soccer 90, and thank you to Soccer 90 because they are a great partners of ours. We want to make sure that you guys and what kind of follow in suit with what we do in making soccer90.com your primary source for all your Major League Soccer, U.S. national teams, and international club gear. You guys can get jerseys, scarves, hats, and more all over at soccer90.com. And all MLS Aces listeners and co-hosts, you guys can receive 25% off your purchase when you use promo code MLS Aces at checkout. That's MLSACES at checkout. Some exclusions may apply to that. Thank you again to Soccer 90. Thank you guys for podcasting with me tonight. It's a fun Tuesday night, maybe a cold Tuesday night, like Jason said. But in kind of a little bit of tradition that I want to maybe start doing, I also start things and then kind of forget about it like a few weeks later once things get busy. But I want to see if I can continue some Tom's trivia going on into this episode. So it won't be super long like last week, but I do have a fun trivia question. This is also tied to some of the news of the episode as well. So Jason and Vaughn, I don't know how we want to do this. Maybe you guys both go back and forth and see if you can get them all. But can you guys name the 4 Polish strikers in Major League Soccer? Current Polish strikers, Vaughn. I will also say that because I know you're familiar with one. So, Jason, I'm going to throw it up to you first.
Kacper.
Yeah, there you go. Kacper Przybyłko. Okay, Vaughn.
Adam Buksa.
Uh-huh. Jason.
Currently.
Oh, we're switching off? Oh, boy.
You're like, I got Kacper. That's it.
I was like, wow, Kacper. Boom, boom. I didn't even, I don't know.
I can give you a hint. He plays on your favorite team that isn't the Fire.
Oh, that took me a second to figure out what team you're talking about. I was like, wait, the Fire? Oh, not the Fire.
You got Kacper ready. Vaughn, you got it.
Yeah, Yaroslav Nishgoda.
Yes, and Vaughn, do you know the fourth one?
Phone a friend.
Oh man, fourth currently in the league.
Yes.
Oh
He is a
man,
designated player too. Maybe that might help.
What team?
Plays for the Red Side in New York.
Oh, Patrick Klimala. Yeah, sorry.
Yep, Pat. There you go, Patrick Klimala. And Vaughn, who is the potential, most likely fifth one coming in this week? I would take an assumption and say
Yeah, Karol Swiderski.
yes,
I'm
Charlotte
just
FC.
impressed at how Vaughn just names perfect pronunciation.
I'm doing my homework.
You're not like me
Well,
on
I'm
pronounce.com.
Well, actually, it might be Carl. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's Carl, but it's definitely Swiderski.
Okay, Swiderski. So there are going to be, probably most likely by the end of this week, 5 premier Polish strikers playing within Major League Soccer. So that's pretty cool. And it's just kind of a little bit of some talking points I definitely think we're going to have this episode. But I think let's start with some players, some current and future U.S. men's national team players who are going to be going on loan to Europe or who are currently on loan in Europe right now. Let's start with the Colorado Rapids loaning out Cole Bassett to Eredivisie side Feyenoord, who are currently sitting at third place at the Eredivisie. Bassett, for those who don't know, 20-year-old former, or I guess still, since he's on loan, still current homegrown midfielder for the Rapids. Definitely a very versatile midfielder in his own right. Definitely, I think more of an 8, but we can. That's pedantics there. This is going to be an 18-month loan with an option to buy at the end of the day for Feyenoord. I mean, this is kind of a big deal. Jason, I'm going to start with you. Cole Bassett, I think long rumored, long awaited move to Europe is finally here.
Yeah, and personally, I actually kind of like the Eredivisie. So this move to me, like, Cole Bassett, 20 years old. We've all seen what he can do, right? We know he's a solid player. Going abroad and with the option to buy, 18-month loan option to buy, I really like when it's kind of like that because just a loan deal, it's like, oh, I don't get that excited, right? Because for the most part, he's coming back and it seems like a step forward, like a half step, I guess. But in this case, like whether he's eventually bought by Feyenoord or another team in Europe, seeing as like he might just ball out there hopefully. But I like to think about it from a like Colorado Rapids point of view because I feel like they've sneakily started really seeing some value come out of their homegrowns. And it's actually pretty awesome to see. But what do you guys think? Like, obviously, Colorado had a ton of young talent. And, I mean, we've talked about Austin Trusty probably 2 weeks ago or something, and potentially seeing him go. How do you feel like this affects – like, obviously, I'm sure we're all pretty happy for Cole Bassett. He kind of deserved a move to Europe and based on his play, and I think it could be very beneficial for him. But from a Colorado, the Rapids point of view, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, they were obviously first in the West last year. So, I mean, how much of a step down is this?
I mean, Vaughn, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, I mean, I have some mixed feelings, right? Like it's a loan and not a sale. So I'm sure that there is a purchase option there.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe the market wasn't quite as hot for Cole Bassett as the Rapids really wanted. And, my real take on it is I'm hoping that he's successful because right now we're seeing a string of guys that have made loans over to Europe that are getting injured right away. We just had what happened with Arriola. We just had what happened with Jordan Morris last year. And now all of a sudden on a sale, DK goes over there and like immediately gets hurt. So for Cole Bassett, I just want the guy to get some steady minutes. Like please, whatever happens, like stay healthy, Cole Bassett, like stay strong. But yeah, I'm happy that he's getting the opportunity in Europe because I think he is that level. I think he can make a name for himself there. And this could be like that move to Europe. But if it doesn't pan out, he's going to be coming right back to the Rapids. And I really hope for everybody's sake, he can make that next step over in Europe.
It's almost like a big risk too, because if it doesn't work out, then it's like you're worse off than where you initially were. So that's kind of rough.
Not necessarily, because you look at the DK move, right? Like DK went on loan, like balled out, came back because the club just couldn't work out a deal for a purchase. Now he's probably, you would argue, in a better spot to make a jump at a better team to then next year potentially play in the Premier League, right? So like, it's not, I don't think it's always like, you come back from your loan, the club didn't buy you, like you're in a shitty spot.
Was there's a chance that like,
yes, there's a chance
he doesn't perform up to, what we all think he can, or, injuries. And then you're really set back because then other European teams see that and they're like, well, he's tried it before. It didn't go, and they're probably less inclined to spend a lot of money.
No, for sure. I think this is definitely.
I don't want to be Debbie Downer.
No, this is an opportunity where Bassett needs to grab the bull by the horns, and he needs to go, right. This is the time you need to shine and prove to Feyenoord and to other European clubs, like, I'm a baller. I'm here to play. Yeah.
Well, and I think some of it is even another way where he's now going to be a barometer for MLS teams going and looking for players in the Eredivisie, right? Like, it's already been a market that MLS has tried tapping into, and it's been a little hit or miss. And so I think having a guy that MLS people will know in Cole Bassett, and you can see his skill set like head on right against those Eredivisie guys, you're going to have a better measuring stick of also potential players coming over from the Eredivisie and kind of knowing what you're really going to get.
Yeah, I think that's also totally fair, right? Like, I'm trying to not have a brain fart right now. Never mind. I'm gonna ignore that point. But I agree with you. I think the Eredivisie is a point where it's a good spot for young Americans to land because it is a respected league over in Europe to potentially then make that next jump. Kind of opposite of my James Sands take of last week to Rangers, where I don't mind James Sands going and playing in Europe. I don't mind the loan to buy, right, at the end of the day, if he proves himself and if he plays. But I just didn't like the Scottish Premier League. I like the Eredivisie as a landing spot way better than the SPL, even though some comments on YouTube disagreed with me completely on that, but it's fine, whatever. I'm not salty about it. But Jason, to your point of kind of like the Rapids point of view on this, right? Like last week we chatted about the Kellen Acosta drama. He is gone. Now Cole Bassett's gone. What's really left in the midfield? They still do have a solid kind of deeper partnership with Jack Price and Mark Anthony Kay. I think that's a very solid kind of deeper midfield. They signed Brian Acosta, who they drafted in the re-entry draft. Not that I think Brian Acosta is a real game changer, but as a starter for Dallas, didn't really rate him. As a first dude coming off the bench in that midfield for Colorado, don't hate it, right? And again, we said this last week, but Philip Mayaka, their super draft pick from last year, everyone had so many positive things to say. I'm ready to kind of see him take the next step up. And this Rapids, this academy is strong. It is developing a lot of talent. So I'm excited to see some of these younger guys also continue to grind and follow in the steps of Bassett, follow in the steps of Sam Vines. But anything else on Bassett or the Rapids you guys want to mention here? All good. Let's move to the other now, I think, potential, hopeful one day USMNT star, Justin Che. He has been loaned from FC Dallas back to the Bundesliga, but this time he is on loan with Hoffenheim. Right now, Hoffenheim sitting in 7th place in the Bundesliga. The 18-year-old homegrown for Dallas is again on an 18-month loan with an option to buy, similar to Sands and similar to Bassett, who we just spoke about. This is a little different because we've already seen Che on loan to the Bundesliga. Obviously, when he went on loan to Bayern, he was playing in the 3 Liga with Bayern 2. And, from all reports, did well. Bayern was interested in buying him after that. A deal just couldn't kind of come together there. So I don't hate seeing him go back to the Bundesliga, especially in the spot where he's going to play, especially at a spot where another former FC Dallas Academy player is playing there with Chris Richards as well. So, Vaughn, I'll start with you here. Do you think Hoffenheim is a good spot for Justin Che to succeed? And I mean, I guess, prove his worth right now in the USMNT kind of pool as well.
I think the Bundesliga is the right place to go. Like that he's going back there is very important, and he's only 18, right?
Yeah.
Like he's still growing.
He's still a big. Have you seen this
he's
kid?
huge.
Like he is huge for 18 years old.
But the Bundesliga, right? Like it is a proven training ground for US guys. Like Pulisic, Sargent, McKennie have all been able to come to the Bundesliga and go on to bigger and better things. And I'm not even mentioning Reina, right? Like, it's a place
Zach
Steffen. It is establishing itself as a good location for developing young American talent, specifically guys with high U.S. men's national team prospects. So for Justin Che to get back in there, to have an opportunity at a place like Hoffenheim to get real serious minutes, it's a very interesting spot, like you mentioned, where I think they're like in 7th place. So it's mid-table, right? Like if he progresses, he's going to be helping them up the table. They're not in that relegation zone. So I think it's a good spot in that regard, and that there's pressure to improve. There's pressure to try and push yourself to that next step. But there's also not the soul crushing if you end up failing. And that can really break a player. So I think it's a good spot for him in that regard.
This move seems like one where it's like, it feels like more than likely, unless he becomes a game in and game out starter for Hoffenheim, he's coming back to FC Dallas. Like Bassett, I feel like Feyenoord had the loan deal to eventually buy him, like with the plan to buy him. I feel like Che is going to be heading back to Dallas again, in my opinion, what it feels like. But Jason, I guess, do you like the move for Che, or do you like the move for Dallas as well?
I mean, like you guys said, he's 18 years old. So in this case, like a loan deal actually feels really smart for him, where he's getting that experience. He's training with, in the Bundesliga. He's potentially playing some Bundesliga games, hopefully. Whether or not he starts every game, like at 18 years old, I think obviously guys like us, like US super fans and stuff, are really going to want to see him do well, but it's not like he's not getting so much pressure from everyone else outside saying like, you have to perform, you have to come in and be, a number one center back right out of the gates. But it gives him that time to develop. And then whether or not he stays there or goes back to Dallas, he just has so much room to grow from the whole experience. So, I mean, I'm happy with the move as someone who's a fan of the U.S. soccer. So, yeah, I like it.
I mean, I personally would have loved to see him stay the season at Dallas, because I think if he never left, it would have been he's the starting center back next to Matt Hedges for an entire season. And, not that Matt Hedges is the end-all, be-all top center back you want to see, but Matt Hedges is a very good center back. He's a proven dude, and I would have loved to kind of see him just learn from another experienced American center back in that kind of sense, and have him play 34 games and, knock on wood, obviously, right, without injuries, and have him kind of succeed in that lineup. But I guess at the same exact time, you also can't pass up an opportunity to go play in the Bundesliga as well. So I get it. I just personally, I feel the same way I kind of feel about Ricardo Pepi now. Looking back at the move, I think another full season at 18 years old in Major League Soccer might have been the better move, but you got to also, I guess, take your shot when you get your shot.
At the same time, at 18 years old, they're developing so quickly. Like it's obviously amazing to have, time in a game. Like you can't really replicate that as best as you try and practice. So it's obviously important he gets game time minutes, but at 18 years old, like I'm not too nervous or concerned about the day in and day out, and more so just is he learning and is he growing from each practice session, from each, time he watches film or whatever. So sure, it's nice to have them, and if he started 34 games, but who's to say he goes on loan, he comes back, starts, kills it in MLS, goes right back to Europe on a huge deal.
Yeah. No, look, you're 100% right, and I think that point kind of actually brought me to a much larger point. And Vaughn, you might have brought this up like 2 weeks ago. Is MLS selling like too much talent too quickly at like, even if we want to even throw in there like too young of an age? Like, there's a point where we're gonna get to all these rumors and we're gonna get to all these sales. Like
15-year-old.
Like who are the next people stepping up? And obviously, I know MLS teams are signing homegrowns at a crazy rate, and a lot of these homegrowns though are going to be big question marks of can they play at a high level? Is MLS still going to be at a high enough level competition wise for these teenage kids to grow and then to sell the next crop, right? So like, I don't know, maybe this is just a weird question, but Jason, as you were talking, I'm just kind of like, Justin Che gone, we're going to talk about Kevin Paredes gone. Like, is there too many people being sold so quickly? I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a dumb question.
I don't think so. Personally,
that's fine. I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking, like, it just feels like a lot of like known quantity, like known talent just leaving.
I feel like you're seeing like all these academies starting to really take root. And like, obviously there were some that were kind of ahead, like the Rebels and FC Dallas and Philly now. In a lot of MLS is sort of catching up. I mean, the Fire were pretty horrible about it for a while. I don't even know if they had an academy for like the first. I don't know when the first one was made, but now you're starting to see Slonina coming in, starting for the Fire. He looks really good. He called up into U.S. camp. And I think it's just a matter of there's so much talent being produced now, and with academies, that talent's even better. And European teams are willing to take that chance if it's a loan or in some cheaper sense. And then, for every one that's like amazing, there might be a couple that don't pan out. But if you really hit on the one that's like amazing, it's perfect for a team, right? Like, if you bring in the next Pulisic, it's like incredible. So,
yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
See, the reason I said that I'm not concerned, right, is that this is very intentional for Major League Soccer. Like, it's part of the structure and how they've designed the business model, right? Like, the whole intent has been you sell a player, you recoup your investment, and then you have to reinvest the profit back into your infrastructure.
You sell a homegrown. Correct that statement. You sell a homegrown player, you get that money back.
But that's the point that I'm saying is like that's what FC Dallas is doing. When Alphonso Davies is sold from Vancouver, they have to put that money back into the club and into the infrastructure and into the academy. So you have these teams that have built $30 million training facilities, are putting significant dollars into establishing academies, and not just like U17 level, like they're building like a true pipeline. Now you have the money going into the establishment of MLS Next and MLS Next Pro. So the intent is for these development academies to be churning out talent, to up the level of coaching from an earlier age, and to ultimately provide that pipeline so that the best talent has a path to pro. And so a direct path. It's not like you're transferring hands between one organization and another. Yeah. So I don't think it is this like MLS trying to hold on to the U.S. soccer ecosystem. No, I think it's just trying to strengthen that pipeline and that pathway so that, yes, their intent is to develop players to be the best at doing it and sell them. And the league is also maturing to the point, like this offseason, this past 2 weeks have been batty in terms of guys leaving the league at an unreal clip at dollars that we have not been discussing, and immediately teams spending millions and millions of dollars coming back the other direction, getting players into the league. Orlando is spending when they haven't been spending. FC Dallas is spending when they haven't been spending. Houston is going big. Like you see these teams spending in new ways that are not the norm for MLS.
Yeah.
And so I'm not concerned because that is the whole plan.
Yeah, and I think
You
that
know
goes
what?
to what
Thank
you
you,
were
Vaughn.
saying. Because like Orlando City's a great example. Like they just hit their record fee for bringing someone in, I'm pretty sure, right? It was like 7 million.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly throw it out there. Orlando City, they obviously acquired winger Facundo Torres from Peñarol down in Uruguay. So it was a record transfer, I think, in total. I'm not sure if the 7.5 million up front was the record, but I know the total of an additional 1.5 million in bonuses to make the total fee $9 million eventually down the line. I do know that was a club record for Orlando.
But yeah, my point is like I almost feel like all these people being sold actually is going to raise the level of the league in the on-field play, because Orlando doesn't make that move without, DK being sold. So, and I actually do really like this move. I know we were going to talk about it a little bit more, but I can't say I've really watched him play, but just from a young DP coming in, 21 years old. He's played for the Uruguayan national team.
You got it.
So, it just takes me a minute sometimes to work out words. And so, like, a player like that has a huge upside and is someone that, like, he might sell for way more than 8 million in 3 years.
Yeah.
And then they bring in someone else. And, like, it's kind of like a staircase, right? It just keeps stacking up.
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, and thank you both for easing my concerns, because I don't know, it was just a random thought that popped in, but I appreciate both of you for easing those concerns. But just to touch
We
on,
shut
I
that
guess,
down.
Yeah,
we
no, you're wrong.
You're like, you're an idiot.
Why
No,
would you even think
I
of that?
appreciate it. But let's talk about Facundo Torres a little bit, because this is a big move, right? I feel like more and more over the past, last 2 seasons, but I think especially this off season, we've seen 2 clubs now break their record transfer fees, and Orlando City doing this. Jason, you're right. The DK transfer definitely obviously makes this possible. This is a move where you bring him in for a potential $9 million down the line. You hope you sell him for double that at some point.
Mhm.
And you can invest that into 15 other players, right? And hopefully one of them turns into the next DK. And then also on top of that, you can buy another young talented South American to come replace Torres. So I like the move a lot. I've watched a lot of Torres's tape. This kid's going to be good. This kid is going to be what Nani did for Orlando City, but probably consistent throughout an entire season and not just have his hot spurts. I really like the move. I think he's the real deal. Like, I think he's a Uruguayan national team player at some point. I'm not saying he's a starter. I'm not saying he's a stud, but I'm saying like he's going to be a consistent player for them throughout the years. Like, he's a very good player. I like this move a lot. And I mean, shout out to Orlando, because we said Nani's gone. We said DK's gone. Mueller's gone. How do you replace that? Well, this is step number 1 in replacing that, because this kid's gonna be it. I don't know. Obviously, we see the times where year 1 players sometimes need a little bit of time to transition, get used to the league, travel, blah blah blah, all the stuff everyone talks about. But I think maybe second half of the season, year 2, you're really going to see this kid thrive and flourish, and he's gonna put on some special shows. Vaughn, anything on Torres or Orlando City?
Just in general for Orlando, right? Like, that's the exact example that we're talking about, is a team that can lose a Mueller, a Nani, and a DK in the same offseason, retool, and you look at them and you're like, I think they're stronger. Right, like they're a team that is going to still be competitive, and this is a team that also not too long ago was really struggling to even make the playoffs, and now they're entering into that conversation of like, no, they're a perennial player. They are going to be there every year, and they're establishing that as part of their culture, and that you can bring in an Oscar Pareja and turn it around, and you can get guys that are top talent in Uruguay, in Argentina, in Brazil, and Major League Soccer and US is a draw. They want to go
Yeah.
there, and the respect for the league is growing, and it's a destination for these guys, not just as a retirement place. Like that, we're killing that. Kill that narrative. And so Facundo Torres is just another example of that. And this is one of the reasons I love Major League Soccer is like we can get excited about a guy like Facundo Torres coming to this league and be like, no, this guy is going to become a potential talisman for this club, and that's an exciting thing.
And I think when you want to talk about players who have come from South America who have been absolute talismans for their club, that's a perfect word for it, Vaughn. I think Diego Valeri has to be one of the first people you think of, especially for what he has done in Major League Soccer. And this is another loss that we have this offseason. Unfortunately, we've spoken about it. We've spoken about it a little bit, Vaughn. Very good, very good. We've spoken about it a little bit already this offseason, but it is now officially official. There's no more chances we see Valeri in a Timbers uniform next year. They have officially sold all-time great attacking midfielder Diego Valeri to his boyhood club of Lanus down in Argentina. Over 300 games for the Timbers, 100 goals, 99 assists in total competitions. Obviously, 3 MLS Cup appearances. He is a one-time MLS Cup champion, an MLS Cup MVP, an MLS is back tournament champion, 3-time best 11, newcomer of the year, MLS MVP. Like, I don't know what else you need to say about Diego Valeri other than this dude came to Major League Soccer. He conquered, and he did everything he could to make the Timbers one of the best clubs in Major League Soccer from his arrival to his departure. I have a blog out right now on MLSAces.com kind of recapping Diego Valeri a little bit more statistically, historically. But I don't think that blog even really captures what Diego Valeri meant to Portland and what he meant to Major League Soccer. He was an absolute staple of the community. He was loved in the Timbers organization. He was loved, obviously, the Thorns are owned by the same owner of the Timbers, but he's loved throughout many of the players that the Thorns have on their roster as well. You know, just I think a fantastic role model, an amazing person. And I'm upset to see him go, especially, you know, I think probably I'm happy personally the way he went out on the field, but many people are going to be upset the way he went out, not raising MLS Cup at home. But Timber Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you first. Diego Valeri gone officially. I guess when you think of Diego Valeri in Major League Soccer, you think of Diego Valeri in general. I guess kind of what comes up, like what do you think of?
I just I feel like there's literally no words that you can use to just like encapsulate what he really meant for Portland and just for the league as a whole. Like, obviously I had no clue who he was coming in when he started. And he's just surpassed anyone's probably wildest imagination of what he could have done. And he came in and you read his accomplishments. They're there for everyone to see. It's incredible what he's been able to do. And like you said, he's just such a good dude. Like, he supports the Timbers. I mean, the Thorns. He's, such a massive, light in Portland. And, I mean, you guys joke, Timber Jason or whatever. I've never actually been to Portland game. I have been to Portland. But, it's just incredible what he's done. And for people like us to realize how amazing he is to that city and what he means to all of them shows how important he was and how great of a player he was. And it's not even all on the pitch what happened. I mean, he's just awesome.
No, for sure. I mean, Vaughn, I guess I'll throw the same question at you. Diego Valeri, what do you think of during his time in Major League Soccer?
All I know is that he's got a career in sports writing. His goodbye letter,
it was beautiful.
Pure art. It was something else. I mean, you can't ask for a player to be embraced by a city and to embrace their city the way that Portland and Valeri did. Like that relationship, like what happened there was the beautiful game. It was magic. And I'm going to miss the age. Like, to me, this is the closing of a book in MLS. Like, we talk about the Zlatans and the Velas and Insigne coming to the league and all this. And like, there was a point in time where like it was Valeri, Piatti, maybe you could throw in Javinko, but like that was
it was Valeri and Piatti.
It was Valeri and Piatti.
Those were the dudes.
Like if you didn't have Valeri and Piatti, like you weren't going to compete. And you know, he meant so much to that team's culture building, and he's going to be a missed figure in the league. That's really the only way I can summarize what Valeri was to everyone. I mean, he's leaving the league, and I think everybody has that same shared kind of take. Like, there's not, and like,
well, excitement for him.
Excitement for him. It's happening the right way. Sad to see him go. He didn't ruffle any feathers. I don't know if I can recall in my mind a single like dirty tackle or anything. He did everything with grace. He played the game the right way. I'm going to be sad to see him go.
I think the only people who might be happy seeing him go are Sounders fans at the end of the day. Look, this dude was that good. You know, like the last point that I want to say about Valeri is I think in the last, 5-7 years, we think about the most dominant teams in Major League Soccer. We think about Seattle. I think about Seattle and Toronto that just jump right off the page, right? Because of the MLS Cups they went back and forth with. The wins in the regular season, the trophies they won, whatever it may be. You can talk about Atlanta, you can talk about LAFC, but Seattle and Toronto led their conferences for most of the past, again, 5 to 7 years. Arguably the third best team in that, in Major League Soccer in that time, is the Portland Timbers. And Diego Valeri and obviously Diego Chara and a lot of the guys who have been around that organization for a while are a big part of that. But Valeri is a reason why, right? Like, I think going back to the 2017 season when he was the MLS MVP, 21 goals and 11 assists. Like that's just not something players step out on the field, even if they're coming in like Facundo Torres, transfer fees and all that. Like, players don't just walk into Major League Soccer and do that. Diego Valeri did that. Even after that kind of Valeri, Piatti, those were the dudes phase into a new phase of Major League Soccer. He elevated his game again into an even greater point. And I absolutely am a huge fan of Valeri. I hope he goes to Lanus, and I hope he can raise some type of trophy there just to kind of finish up his career, whatever it may be. But sad to see Diego Valeri go, and hopefully, maybe he comes back as a writer for the Timbers, Vaughn, but maybe he also comes back as an assistant coach. I don't know. I just want to see the dude back.
I think he'll be back in Portland in some capacity.
Well,
I hope so.
And there was the other thing. I went and looked back at like the announcement of him being signed, like the comment section, and like I think I looked at Stumptown Footy and all that stuff. And it was interesting because like when he was coming into the league, right? Like there was like mixed feelings about him coming in. I think the scouting report on him, because he'd been at Lanus and he'd been at Porto, and basically the knock on him was consistency and like drive and want to on the field. And I was like, what Valeri is that? But maybe it really was just having that team that embraces you and a city that embraces you and gives you that stability, and you become the guy. So just something that I thought was very interesting. And where we're talking about Facundo Torres and talismans, like that's what's exciting about Major League Soccer. You can have a guy come to your squad that you expect nothing from, and all of a sudden he's going to become a hero and a star in not only in your market but also potentially in the league. And Valeri set the bar very, very high for that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that's an awesome point to finish up on and move forward into talking about maybe some rumored deals. We're going to dive a little bit further, I think, on these deals once some stuff is fully confirmed. And I wouldn't be surprised that tomorrow we drop the podcast and all of these moves become confirmed, because it's what I've just noticed over the past 2 weeks of us recording on Tuesdays and dropping on Wednesdays. Is Wednesday at noon is when teams like to make all their moves, but it's all good. I think one team who's out here trying to make some moves is DC United, and maybe they're making the moves not in the way DC United fans want to see, but right now we do have the report, and there has been reports over the past 2-3 weeks that DC United is looking to move on and transfer Paul Arriola. A lot of interest coming from Club America down in Liga MX, and Arriola has said he wouldn't mind a return to Liga MX. But it is looking like reports are confirming that a deal is done between DC and FC Dallas on a record intra MLS deal, sending Arriola to FC Dallas. At the same time, reports came out today that DC is also very close, and apparently it's a done deal that they are selling young U.S. left wing-back, left winger, left midfielder, whatever you want to consider him. He just plays all up and down that left side. Kevin Paredes to Bundesliga side Wolfsburg for a reported $7 million for Paredes. I guess we'll talk about it from just a DC point of view, because I think that's a heavy point to hit on right now. Vaughn, DC selling Arriola, selling Paredes, if they get the cash for both of these guys, I mean, you have to be happy as a DC fan, but hoping that you replace the productivity on the field, I think.
Yeah, I think that they are going to need to heavily retool. I think that is very clear. And I don't think there's time to do it in this window. But like with how many pieces they need to replace, and where guys are still like in limbo of, are they gone, are they not? The rumors were coming out. I think it was Stephen Goff that said that the move wasn't going to happen, or maybe it was Pablo Maurer, I don't remember, but wasn't going to happen until they lined up a DP to replace Arriola, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. This is moving way too fast. Paredes is coming out of nowhere, happening way too fast. There's still rumors about Ola Kamara and whether or not he's going to be there. So I think at this point, DC United is going to be struggling. They might be able to bring one or two guys before the start of the year. But I think they're going to have to gear up and prep for summer. And there's going to be a lot of movement in summer. We talked about it a little bit last week. That's going to be the real challenge here, is Hernan Losada being supported with these dollars being spent in the way that he wants them to be spent. And if they come out of the gate slow, if they don't mesh, if they bring guys in late or even in the summer and they can't get it turned around, I'm a little concerned for DC United in that I think they're playing with fire in how they're approaching these moves, just with the timing, and it all happening at the same time.
So apparently, when you said that there wasn't a deal for a DP coming in, I thought I was reading today that there was, and I'm correct that Tom Bogert dropped today, and Stephen Goff also confirmed that apparently a deal is pretty much done for a DP striker from Rapid Vienna, Taxarchis Fountas, who's a DP striker coming in, who's apparently going to arrive in the summer. So still, to your point, Vaughn, I think it's going to be all hands on deck until we can get to the summer and maybe make a late push. But
that's a Kamara replacement. That's not an Arriola replacement. That's a forward.
Yes, I mean that's still it's a DP replacement, but yes, it's still that. And apparently Bogert said they're still looking out for another DP right now as well. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting how DC kind of can manage until they get to some type of point where they're able to just play on the field to Losada's style too, right? Because I think Paredes is the perfect fit for that Losada style, but you also can't turn down $7 million for a dude who's played like 30-something games for you too. So it's kind of like the Brian Reynolds deal for me. You can't turn down that money. And in the same exact token, FC Dallas, Vaughn, we chatted about it a little bit before we started recording. FC Dallas promised their fans that they're going all in this summer. I think some of the there's a rumored DP winger that they're potentially signing who looks awesome. And also, obviously, if you're going intra MLS and you're spending the record deal for a guy like Paul Arriola, who I'm a huge fan of, I think FC Dallas is proving to their fans like, we're taking that Pepe money and we're putting it back into the club. So, Jason, I'm going to turn the Dallas question to you here. Does Dallas bringing in a dude who, like Paul Arriola, and apparently, all these moves that they have coming in, is this like a different kind of FC Dallas that we've seen in recent years?
I mean, for sure it is. Like, I feel like in recent years, it was any mention of FC Dallas wasn't because of, how they were playing, unless it was like negative. in terms of where they were at in MLS and the table and current seasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone always like raves about their homegrowns, their academy. We saw Brian Reynolds get sold. I mean, he played, I don't even know, half a season.
21 games. It was
Yeah, there you go.
games.
You had the number on hand.
I don't know why I remember that number, but I do.
But there's my point is like FC Dallas have been this team that it's always money coming in from players they're producing, and they've got their hands all over Europe at this point with players. And it's awesome to see. It's something that's really cool. And as a U.S. soccer fan, I'm not an FC Dallas fan. Go for it. Sell them and, make them better. But this is a clear turn where, they're finally saying, look, we've made all this money. It's time to kind of turn around. I mean, they probably should have done this a long time ago because it seems like they have a lot of money coming in every year. But, this is a complete turnaround. And it's if they go through and all these moves go through, they're going to be competitive, I think. And they're going to be in a spot where we may be talking about them in, the winter, late winter or early winter, I guess.
When's the World Cup this year?
Oh, right.
No, I mean, look, I'm with you. Like FC Dallas, this is a new promise from the Hunt. Well, not a new promise from the Hunt family. I think the Hunts have always promised that they're going to be competitive in play, but this is the first time they're acting on the promise. And the winger that they're reportedly bringing in is Alan Velasco from Independiente down in Argentina. So super talented 19-year-old kid. Again, we'll see. Again, it's a lot of these youngsters coming up who have a lot of promise to them, a lot of talent to them. Now,
well, they know how to value young players, so.
They do. You are very correct. You are correct on that. Awesome. All right, so let's move on the rumor mill a little bit. And Vaughn, you wanted to bring up maybe a familiar USMNT face coming back to Major League Soccer. Do you want to roll into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should talk about Deandre Yedlin. And whether or not he is or is not coming back. He is on the allocation ranking list. So right now, that top spot is owned by Inter Miami in their trade with Charlotte FC. So the question is Miami really the leading horse in this race for Deandre Yedlin? There's rumors that he is out at Galatasaray, but don't know whether or not that's true. I think he was still in the roster, like as of this week. Sam
Stachel reported the contract was officially
done.
Officially done. Yeah.
Okay, so he's out from there, but I think there's been interest from Hull City, several other people in Europe. And apparently several MLS clubs. Obviously, Inter Miami makes a bit of sense because of the Chris Henderson connection from their time in Seattle together, but really don't know. And in terms of a right back, like once again, my take on this is if Inter Miami is seriously looking at bringing him in, they traded for that top allocation ranking spot for Christian Makoun. So you're essentially trading Christian Makoun, a young starting center back, for the right to sign Deandre Yedlin at right back. And I don't know that is great business. I don't know that Deandre Yedlin elevates Inter Miami in any regard. I'm just a little nervous about the move for everyone.
I think Deandre Yedlin? Yes. Do I think wherever Deandre Yedlin lands, right? Talking about more specifically for us within Major League Soccer, do I think if he lands in Miami, if he lands in, I think Toronto was also the other heavily rumored MLS club. If he lands within Major League Soccer, do I think he comes in as one of the best fullbacks in the league? 1,000%. But to your point, Vaughn, do I think he comes into a club, especially a club like Miami, and elevates them to playoff contender or a team that can really fight for an MLS Cup run? No, I don't think so. I like Deandre Yedlin. I think he's a really talented player. I think he's personally a very strong player, but I just don't think he brings a club that's fighting wooden spoon contention to the next level. I think he could bring a good club to a next level. I just don't know if he's bringing Miami to
if he goes back to Seattle, hand him the trouble. Like,
yeah, I mean, Rusnak. Well, no, I mean, you have to get rid of Alex Roldan then. Come
I
on,
hope the Fire are interested.
No, Alex Roldan will just move forward as another midfielder. They'll get them all on the field.
They'll make it
Where
work. They always make it work.
He plays for El Salvador, right? You just push him up there. Jason, do you have any Deandre Yedlin takes?
I mean, nothing really that you guys haven't said.
Oh, good. Vaughn, your next rumor that we want to talk about, and I kind of, hinted at it a little bit with the trivia question or the trivia game. But Charlotte might have a new their first DP ever in club history heading to the club soon. So you want
full-fledged,
that one?
Yeah, full-fledged DP would be who we previously talked about, Karol Swiderski, 25-year-old Polish striker. He'd be coming over from the Greek league where he's been playing at PAOK Thessaloniki. And we'll have to see.
Impressive.
He's killing it, honestly.
Hey, once again, I'm selling it. I don't know whether or not it's right, but we'll
Vaughn just heard my computer like 2 weeks ago, and it was like pronouncing words for me.
Well, the thing is, to be fair, I went and watched some games it's PAOK. Like I didn't know if it was PAOK. No, it's PAOK.
I would have said PAOK for sure.
Yeah, it's PAOK Thessaloniki.
Well, Vaughn, everyone's like asking you to come on their shows and stuff to talk about Charlotte, so you have to really know it.
I have to be in the know. I know. Yeah,
you do.
But yeah, I think it's a really high level signing. He's coming over. He's been starting with the Polish national team in the Euros. He's been playing alongside Robert Lewandowski. The metrics of it, he's got 60 goals and 23 assists in his career between playing in Poland and obviously playing in the Greek first division. And I think they're spending 5 million euros on the transfer, which is a good chunk, right? Like what I'm excited about is they sold Riley McGree and they immediately are bringing in and spending those dollars on a DP here. Like they're doing that.
Less than that too. You're still in the pot. You're still in the plus.
Yeah, exactly. But the team is doing good business in that way. And the way I've looked at it is like Sporting Kansas City. I'm wearing Sporting KC gear here. Like I've followed this team for 27 years. They've made one signing for more dollars than what this Swiderski move would be. Alan Pulido is the only player that cost more than 5 million euros, which is 5.6 million US dollars. So that Charlotte is doing that out of the gates is at least to me a sign of intent, because it's not like Charlotte is some massive market compared to like Kansas City, but they have a really rich owner. So I'm happy to see a move like this. It's a step in the right direction. I think it's a huge potential signing. Like when I say potential, I mean like potential for growth. I joked that it was Charlotte finding their Buxaw. Just to be absolutely clear for anyone listening, Swiderski is better than Buxaw. Like, I guarantee it from everything I've read, everything I've researched, everything. So this is a guy that should be contributing somewhere between 15 to 20 goals, between goals and assists. He should be a key figure. And when I say he's Charlotte's Adam Buxaw, you just talked about all the Polish strikers that are coming into the league. The mold, like what you want to do is bring in a guy for $4 to $5 million, like they did with Adam Buxaw, and be able to now sell them on after some successful years in MLS for $9 to $9.5 million. They're both Polish strikers that are like 23, 24, that are going to be starting on the Polish national team and are coming to MLS as DPs. Like on paper, check. They line up. You could not have a closer clone in terms of those metrics. But in terms of ceiling and potential and all that stuff, it's through the roof for Swiderski.
Shots fired at Adam Buxaw. That's all I'm just kidding. I can agree with you. I think from everything that I've read and the research I've done on him, and to be honest, I didn't do much research until, I started seeing your tweets about him and everything like that. He's gonna be very good. I do hope that he gets used to Major League Soccer play faster than Adam Buksa. Really, Buksa's 2020, and obviously 2020 was a big question mark year for a lot of people, just with the state of the world. But obviously, it took really Adam Buksa until 2021 before I ever think he really thrived as a player in Major League Soccer. So hopefully, he can come in, kind of hit the ground running for Charlotte. But I'm excited to see this one really become official. And if I had to make any guess of which move at Wednesday at noon is going to drop and become official, it's most likely this one. If I had a good guess about it, he will also be joining a brand new winger signed by Charlotte FC. Charlotte, and we're getting into the official moves now, everyone. So no more rumor stuff. This is signed, sealed, collected, done. Charlotte FC, they did sign winger Titi Ortiz on loan from Club Tijuana down in Liga MX. His real name is Christian Titi Ortiz. Is a 29-year-old Argentinian winger. Tons of games of experience between Mexico's top flight, Uruguay, Peru, Ecuador, Argentina, all of that. Vaughn, I mean, you want to give us a little bit more detail into who Ortiz is?
Yeah, you said he was a winger. The team is saying that they are going to use him as their number 10. That he is their central attacking mid and playing the number 10 role. His best years and where he really thrived was playing for Independiente del Valle under Miguel Angel Ramirez. So he is going to be another one of those with Alan Franco, who's going to be able to step in that midfield and immediately set the tone, set the model that Mar wants to play and put it in motion. The learning curve is not going to be there. He's going to be an on-field general for this team. So yeah, I think this is a massive signing for Charlotte. Every game starter, but once again, has that flexibility, is going to be able to play on the wing if he needs to go to the wing, is going to be able to drop back and play some defensive roles. He's definitely another one of those guys that has the ability to play box to box and play both ways, offense and defense, but has an eye for goal. He is going to be the set piece taker. I think that's pretty clear. He is going to be an offensive weapon for Charlotte FC.
He's also very confident, and I like that. I think I saw a piece on MLSsoccer.com of him saying he's a game winner or he's a game changer arriving to Charlotte FC. And also the other Charlotte FC news that I wanted to talk about or just quickly mention is that I saw Miguel Angel Ramirez see Sergio Ruiz walk out onto the training pitch for the first time this week, and he hugged him and was celebrating like he just won MLS Cup. I love it. So I know this offseason we've talked a lot of Charlotte. Obviously, they're a new team. Vaughn, you're very connected to it, so it makes a ton of sense. I just want to say I'm loving what Charlotte's doing from the jump. But we'll see how I guess the production on the field is.
I got a question for you, Vaughn.
Yes.
Or Tommy's.
Sorry, Vaughn, you're the Charlotte dude, not me.
How much do you know how much money that transfer was?
The transfer
Ortiz?
for Ortiz,
yeah.
It's a loan deal. So
okay.
Yeah, so it's a 1-year loan. The dollars, he's not a DP, but if he were transferred in, I would expect that he would be a TAM level DP. That's if I had to impressive. Guess. And that's the thing. I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, okay, Jordi Alcivar is a young designated player that they've said they can buy down. So he may be classified as the team's first. Like right now on the website, like he's a YDP, but probably won't stay that way. They're talking about Swiderski, absolute DP. Ortiz, DP level. Alan Franco, DP level. Sergio Ruiz, I think he's not far off from DP level. Yordi Reyna is technically a TAM level DP. Like he's going to take 150,000 or so of GAM to buy down.
Really?
Yeah, I think he makes 750.
So you guys are like being smart Inter Miami.
yeah. So like when I look at the roster build, like you talk about DPs, no, they're building that pretty good level of guys in the starting lineup that and still have the ability to add DPs. Like right now, the problem for the team, and nobody's questioning it, is their front three. They just need depth and they need guys on the wings. And that's the one missing link here. And yeah, am I maybe high on them? Like, is there a certain level of bias? Sure. Am I going to be hyping them up because I'm really excited? Yes. But trying to
love it.
Probably.
But trying to be but seriously, like me trying to be objective about this roster,
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people sleeping on the real talent level that the scouting team has brought in.
I mean, from the outside looking in, I'm scared already.
Charlotte's being run very Sounders-like Chris Henderson Sounders-like to me, if that makes sense. Like the front office knows like the moves they're pulling, they're taking their time, being patient, but they're doing it because like they're making sure it all lines up and like that they can get high level dudes, maybe not for high level prices. If that
Well,
kind
and
of
also
makes sense.
almost all of the key figures are on like 4+ year deals. So like these are foundational pieces. This is not a team that's going to start and be like, oh, rebuild year 3. Like,
Yeah.
no, these guys are part of a long-term plan. And I really think that there is like a foundation that's being built that is sustainable. And I'm not looking at anything being like, man, they're going to be cash strapped now because of that guy they brought in, or they're really like we know FC Cincinnati and their cap position they've put themselves in.
Yeah.
Charlotte has not done that.
Don't even mention FC
yes.
Cincinnati.
You are correct. And I don't know why, Vaughn, you were talking. I was staring at your SKC crest on your shirt. Really love what Sporting Kansas City is doing with SKC2 for MLS Next Pro. Head coach Benny Feilhaber, assistant coach is Ike Opara. Like, can we just bring, Tim Melia in there, like Matt Beasler? Can we just get like the entire coaching staff to just be like 09, 10, 11, 12 SKC players? Chance Myers, maybe.
I want them to bring in Sal Zizzo, and then it's just like a podcast group running a 2 team, and that gives me hope of what we can eventually do with MLS Aces. So yeah,
we can run an MLS Next Pro team.
I think we should start at USL.
Yeah, you think, and work our way. Oh, I mean, technically, what level of USL we're talking about? D3?
We're talking about. Wait, what is it? The Tucson Sentinel.
The Tucson Sentinel.
The team I made
That's
up.
a pull, man. That was a pull. Jeez. Okay.
Long ago.
That took me back like a year plus.
One of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
That was all Sam. So shout out to Sam for thinking of that idea. Let's keep going with the moves. One move that I wanted to talk about heavily was the LA Galaxy. I feel like we haven't really heard about the LA Galaxy diving too deep into any type of transfer this offseason, really. But Greg Vanney went back to his former club, and they got his dude. LA Galaxy have acquired central midfielder Marky Delgado from Toronto FC for $500,000 in general allocation money. I personally think that's a steal for Marky Delgado. Also, really super surprised that he's still only 26 years old. Like, this is a dude in his prime. This is a dude who's won a lot as a starter up with Toronto, up with Greg Vanney. I think a dude who's been a highly underrated starter year after year up in Toronto. Like, I think people were always like, oh, it's Jonathan Osorio, it's Victor Vasquez, it's Alejandro Pozuelo, it's Michael Bradley in that midfielder. Marky Delgado has fought through all those dudes to consistently be a starter on that Toronto team. So I love this move. I love he's pairing back up with Vanney. And for the Galaxy, I mean, they had a really big hole when Jonathan Dos Santos left. Obviously they have Rabelson, who they signed as, more of a defensive midfielder last year. I still think they're going to figure out who's playing that 10. If I had to guess, it would probably be Efra. And I think the other midfielder is going to be Marky Delgado. So, it's really the midfield starting to come together a little bit for the Galaxy. And I think Vanney, his second off season, really kind of getting his dudes. I like it a lot. I'm happy to see him go. I don't know. It's just quick take on Marky Delgado for the Galaxy, kind of just getting him on a cheap there. Let's move to your side of town, Jason. Chicago Fire actually have a notable move we can chat about.
Man,
you wanna hit the
once
listeners
in my
with
lifetime. You want me to do it? All right.
Yeah, sorry, you go for it, Jason.
Yeah, so the Fire traded for striker Kacper Przybyłko, from earlier this episode. We brought him up. From the Philadelphia Union for $1.15 million in GAM. 28-year-old Polish striker. I mean, people listening to this podcast probably know who he is. 96 games played for the Union, won a supporter shield, 40 goals, 14 assists. And he's, finally, in my opinion, this is a major move for the Fire. I mean, I think a lot of people think it's a huge move. It's really one of the only moves we've done recently. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come, but in this specific move, I know we talked about this a little bit on Twitter, Tom, and you brought up Barrich and, kind of compared the stats a little, but I think, in my opinion, he's not going to be a DP. Barrich, the Fire in general, Nikolic, even before Barrich, they bring in these guys.
I forgot about Nikolic.
They bring in these guys, and this is their trajectory is like, oh, this guy's he's promising, and then falls off a damn cliff. So, I mean, and then they're gone, and that's a bit of a shame. But I think Kacper can come in. He obviously has experience in MLS, like I just read. And we need a solid, experienced guy to play striker for us. At this point, like, we got to stop keeping with these European moves that may or may not pan out. I mean, I get excited every time, and then they get let down every time. We're getting, we still have Chinonso 04, who I actually really like. Every time I watch him, the guy works hard. He works real hard. And we have Jan Duran. He's coming back. He's 18, I believe. The rest of the guys are pretty young. Duran, I think they signed like a year ago, and now he's coming because it was like I don't know, maybe because he was young. But it's someone that's going to affect the game. Like, in terms of how this is better than Barrich, is like Barrich, when he wasn't scoring and he had a pretty big drought there last season, it was like there was nothing being added. I just feel like, in terms of what Kacper Przybyłko could bring, is when he's on the pitch, even if he's not scoring, he's still going to affect the team in winning ways. He's still going to, he knows the league, and he's going to be there and helping the young guys. He's going to be, scoring goals, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm very happy with the move.
I think the only reason why I was a little down on the move, right, is you look at the stats, statistically, did Kacper Przybyłko do anything statistically different than what Robert Barrich did? At the end of the day, no. But you are right, Jason, that I think when Robert Barrich wasn't scoring goals, I don't know how much else he really
guy was
added
like a
to
traffic cone. No offense, Barrich.
Could you
I did
also argue that the Fire didn't put talent around Barrich to succeed at the end of the day? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to get into, the super details of that. But, yeah.
Let's put it this way. Like, Przybyłko isn't going to turn the Fire into, a top contender. But it is one of hopefully many moves in the very right direction, where a couple more, 2, 3, 4 more moves, if they're, as good as this one, maybe they have to take some chances. They could be a contender. So I don't know. I just think, in terms of how he can affect the field, it's going to be a lot better than what we had last season, and that's a plus.
You know what? I'll leave it at that. Totally fair.
Yeah, the biggest move for the Fire, though, was getting rid of Francisco Calvo.
Oh, yeah. You mean the guy who just let in a shitty goal every single game? He's like always playing.
You mean future San Jose Earthquake center back Francisco Calvo?
You mean the guy who on every set piece was like, oh, shoot, they kicked it already?
Yeah, like the Earthquakes very likely could be like wooden spoon contenders now.
Yeah. And they have a loaded midfield, which is like the sad part about them is like, I don't hate a lot of players on their roster, but their back line is awful, is not good. But we'll obviously dive more into season predictions and all that stuff when we get closer to the season, which is only like 30-something days away at this point, which is ridiculous. But let's keep the signings going. Big week of signings, so this might be a little bit of a longer episode, everyone. I apologize. But LAFC, they went out, they made a splash move. They signed or acquired goalkeeper Maxime Crepeau from the Vancouver Whitecaps for $1 million in general allocation money and a super draft pick. Personally, I just wanted to talk about this move because At the time of this move, they only had one goalkeeper on the roster, and Tomas Romero. They bring in Crepeau, who I think at the end of last year kind of cemented himself as one of the best top five, if you want to rank them, goalkeepers within Major League Soccer. He's obviously kind of, it looks like he's taking the reins as the Canadian national team starting goalkeeper. Like, Crepeau is a dude. Crepeau, I think, kept Vancouver in a lot of games last year, and if he wasn't between the sticks, I don't know if Vancouver's also making the playoffs last year and the magical run that they did. So I like the move a lot. I think bringing him to LAFC, LAFC is not going out and they're not bringing Carlos Vela in after, Trundolo signings and all that stuff. And it's been a weird off season for them. But bringing in Capro, bringing in Callan Acosta in the past week, I think has been two solid, good MLS moves for this club. So like the move a lot. If you guys have anything you want to say about Crepeau or LAFC, hit it. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward. All good. Okay. One of the last things that I quickly want to mention is MLS at AFCON 2022. Like, African Cup of Nations is going on, and it has been intense. Obviously, I think we all want to say, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of those who have passed away in the unfortunate, accident that happened outside of one of the stadiums at AFCON. But the games on the field have been crazy. There's been so many amazing moments for a lot of these players and a lot of these teams. And Major League Soccer has been represented, and I think the number one, representee of Major League Soccer has been Nuhu for Cameroon, playing well for Cameroon, and now they're on to the quarterfinal. Obviously, a few other names, Teenage Adebe for the Dynamo, they got eliminated. Zimbabwe got eliminated. Jamiro Montero with Cape Verde just got eliminated today as well. So, it looks like Nuhu and Olivier Mbizo for Cameroon still just kind of leading the way, hoping for an MLS player to win AFCON this year. So rooting for them. The last thing, yes, Vaughn, go ahead.
I also want to throw out one for Kai Kamara, because Kai Kamara,
yes,
and what he means to Sierra Leone, and missing that heartbreaking penalty that ultimately kept them from advancing. It was heart-wrenching, and I can't imagine being in his shoes. But I think 37 years old and still playing for his national team is really incredible. So that was the one other name I wanted to throw in there.
And I think I know when Sierra Leone made AFCON, I think it's been quite a long time since Sierra Leone has played in the African Cup of Nations. And I know how much it meant to Kai Kamara and the rest of that team to obviously play in AFCON. Augustine Williams, former LA Galaxy player, is also on Sierra Leone. He was speaking out about what it meant to represent Sierra Leone in the African Cup of Nations as well. So a lot of great stuff going on there for our MLS ties. So thank you, Vaughn, about Kai Kamara. Forgot about Kai. The last thing that I quickly want to mention is that obviously in 2 days' time, or if you're listening to the podcast tomorrow, USMNT World Cup qualifying is back on, right? Like these games matter. These games are important. If everything goes right, fingers crossed, everything goes right, we could qualify for the World Cup at the end of these 3 games. Highly doubt it, but fingers crossed that it happens. We have a home game on the 27th against El Salvador, an away game against Canada on the 30th, and then a home game against Honduras on the 2nd of February. We don't have to dive super deep into this, but any extreme omissions or roster additions that you guys liked, hated, or you guys just want to chat about super quickly?
I mean, I've seen why, but at first I was like, oh, Busio. I wish he was there. But I mean,
yeah, COVID.
Yeah, COVID. He was the one that like popped out initially to me, but obviously with COVID, like.
Yeah, no, unfortunately. I think the one that stood out to me the most was obviously, I think, John Brooks, for sure, just because, he's been such a staple of the USMNT for a very long time now. Obviously, having a very poor season with Wolfsburg right now, just form-wise. I would like to see him get to a point where he's playing back into the center back pool, because I do think he, on paper, talent-wise, he is still our best center back. But, with the way that Walker Zimmerman, Miles Robinson, some of these dudes are playing, like, I get it. I get it. It sucks, but it's just, I guess, the reality to it there. Yeah. Anyone else? No, all good. Okay. That is it. That was another episode of the MLS Aces podcast. Vaughn, Jason, thank you guys very much for podcasting with me tonight. Anything that you guys want to say before we say goodbye? Before another week of MLS and U.S. soccer, just craziness happens.
Hopefully, we get 9 points.
Yeah, hopefully we get 9 points and Honduras loses and someone else loses another game and
Hopefully, everyone loses.
Hopefully, by the next time you guys are hearing our voices, we've qualified for Qatar.
We win all 3, and every other game that occurs is a draw. Like that would put us in a good spot.
Well, and also what is unreal is that when this podcast is out, like MLS starts in 1 month.
Oh my God.
1 month away from the start of the season. This is a ridiculously short off season. Like it is like comically short.
I feel like there's been so much news also that like it's just gonna suddenly be here and be like, what?
Well, we went from like we were taking months at a time to be like, let's talk about our favorite logos from across the country. Like,
yeah.
and now we're
Shout
like, we
out
can't
to
even
Green Bay Voyagers.
Yeah, like we can't keep up with all of the moves.
That was a fun
we're like, when are we going to do team previews? Like, what is happening? Like, it is like rapid fire.
Now there's so many teams too. It's how we're going to do team previews.
I know.
28 teams.
If you guys are listening to this podcast and you have a suggestion for how we can preview every single team and give enough time to actually talk about every single team and your team specifically, please let us know, because I don't know if 2 episodes is really going to be enough for us to cover 28 teams. But yeah, let us know. Maybe we can break it up a little bit. I don't know. I like how Extra Time's doing it, but I don't want to copy them exactly.
Haikus.
Yeah, the best way to cover a team. And Vaughn, to your point, is also 21 days from today, the 25th day of recording. New England Revolution kickoff in CCL. So that's also very intense. So we got games coming up soon, boys. We gotta get ready for it. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Again, this has been episode 213 of the MLS Aces podcast. Check us out on YouTube, Twitch, all that stuff, and we will chat with you guys next week.